my first ever therapy session. I did not want to share anything. So we get to the final 20, 15 minutes or so, and I start opening up. He closes the session, and I was just raging mad. I came in with an expectation of, you're gonna solve everything in this hour.
I don't have any quick fixes. You come in here with like 40 years of trauma and stress, and if I could fix that quickly,
come on, Jesus.
You owe me
right.
You owe me $10,000.
This is Caesar Walker, the cool, calm, collected one.
And I'm Ronnie Gatry, the emotional one.
And we are the Tipping Point Podcast, your source for the Black male's perspective.
Tipping Point Podcast.
If there's misconceptions around the profession in terms of people going into it to actually do that as a career, obviously those same misconceptions impact people's decision to actually go for counseling if they need it, right? Let's kind of talk about some of those misconceptions, that some of the more common ones that you're familiar with that you've seen.
The biggest one, it's always been the biggest one in the black culture at least, is you go into counseling, it means you're crazy. Or somebody's going to try to call you crazy or diagnose you. I know when I was a kid, it was like, you go to counseling, and next thing you know, they got you at Bryce. I don't even think Bryce is open anymore, but that was the threat. They're going to put you in Bryce. Mm-hmm. And so people, this idea, that's probably the biggest stigma, is that crazy people go to counseling, and which is just not true. I work with the working well. Like the clients I have are successful, business owners, really successful people who just have stuff they want to talk about. Like, it's not what you think. People are thinking like somebody with multiple personalities, which is called dissociative identity disorder now. They're thinking like those are the people who go in to get, no, it's just regular folks, so that's part of it. It's like, well, who goes? Like, right. You, people like you.
Right. And then there is a difference between, sorry to cut you up, but there is a difference between a psychiatrist versus a therapist, because I think you're not allowed, or you're not supposed to prescribe medication. I think that's another fear people have, is that I'm going to go in to talk about my problems and I'm going to leave with medication.
Yeah. Psychiatrists are actually medical doctors, so they go to med school, they prescribe stuff. Psychologists can prescribe as well, and that's just somebody who has a PhD in counseling or psychology. In clinical psychology, but counselors don't prescribe. We don't. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I would want to. Like, not because I'm against the medications, but just because that's just an extra level of complexity, and I'm generally reluctant to tell anybody they need medication. In general, But yeah, I'm not going to put you on anything.
Right.
I'm not going to suggest you get on anything. If you ask me, I'll say, hey, my usual thing, somebody asked me this the other day, like, do you think I need to be on something? And I'll say, can you function? Like, if you're not able to function, then something might be helpful to get you to be able to function at a level you're comfortable with. But if you're able to function, then no, maybe you don't need medication. But I'm not going to. And now, counselors do diagnose, in a sense. There are diagnoses, for two reasons. One is to do a treatment plan, just to know, okay, this person is, struggling with depression, or this person is struggling with some kind of anxiety, and then we'll develop a treatment plan based on that, just kind of a roadmap of what to do. If you go through your insurance, the insurance requires a diagnosis for them to pay it. And so I don't take any insurance. So I tell people, it's like, well, one of the benefits of that, you have to pay more because, more than your copay. It's like, but there's not going to be paperwork somewhere with people that you don't know who, what they're doing with it or whatever, because you have to turn that to the insurance company. Yeah. But even diagnosis is just a description of symptoms. It gives guidance to what we're going to work on. There's no medication generally, not from a counselor. They may suggest, hey, have you thought about taking something for your sleep, or have you thought about, but you would have to go to your primary care physician or a psychiatrist or somebody to get it prescribed. So you're not going to walk into my office and leave out with anything, any medication.
Gotcha. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Most counseling is just talk therapy, mostly.
Yeah. One of the things that I hear men talk about, and then we're working our way, just building a foundation as we drift into the conversation. But some of the aversions that a lot of men have, you kind of talked about it already, that men aren't really comfortable talking about their feelings. And I think for a lot of men, that's not something we've really been socialized to do. Mm-hmm. So going somewhere where you probably got to pay some money, talk to a stranger, and do that unpack that for the first time can be off-putting for a lot of men.
Yeah.
How do men even get to that? How do we even get men to that point? And what are some of the things that I guess you being a black man in the profession do to kind of help ease guys into that process?
Well, the first thing is clearing up those misconceptions with conversations like this, because there is a stigma, there is an idea of like it's going to be hard to open up or whatever, but the truth is, it's just like what I tell men is like it's just a conversation. Can you have a conversation, and you're in control of the process. Like you don't have to say anything you don't want to say. I'm not gonna. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You can be as open as you want or as closed as you want. And so once men know, it's just a conversation. Like, I'm not, because they don't know the process. So when you don't know the process, you start thinking, it's like, hey, we're talking now. I'm just gonna be asking you questions. I'm gonna ask about your family background. I'm gonna ask you when did you start having symptoms. I'm gonna ask you, what have you tried to work through this? I'm gonna ask you about your support system. Who do you have friends who you talk to? Do you have family? Are you isolated? It's like, can you answer questions? I say, you don't even have to answer the question. You can be like, next question, I don't want to talk about that. Which, so demystifying the process in general is part of it. And but that's changing. I have some clients who come just like, I just went to see what it was like to have a counselor. I had a friend, or I knew somebody, and they went to counseling. They said it was helpful for them. So I was like, I think I'll go and see what if it can be helpful for me too. And so really just exposing them to what it is and what it isn't. It's no different than us talking here. You're just talking to somebody who has a specific set of skills and acquired knowledge who may have a different perspective.
Okay.
Hearing you say that takes me back to my first ever therapy session. This was about 7 years ago, and it took a lot for me to go ahead and go, but I'll never forget that 1 hour session. I was kind of like you said, like, I'm very talkative, but in this space, I did not want to share anything. Yeah. So we get to the final 20, 15 minutes or so, and I start opening up. Yeah. And then, of course, he closes the session, and I was just raging mad because what I did not communicate to the therapist I had at the time was I came in with an expectation of, you're going to solve everything in this hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is not realistic.
Yeah.
But you took me back to that when you were sharing that. Now, the crazy part is I was so angry that all my life's problems weren't solved in that one session where I only contributed, the last few minutes.
Yeah.
That I didn't go back for several weeks.
Yeah. See, I lower expectations right off the bat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not an expert. I'm not a guru. I say this to every client. I'm not an expert. I'm not a guru. I don't have all the answers. If I did, I would charge more. It'll be $1,000 a session.
Yeah.
So what does that do to people? Because again, they're already thinking that I'm here because whether reasonable or not, they think you are that for them. So what does that do in that moment for them? Does it force them to really reset?
That's a good question. I don't know what it does for them.
Okay. I'm curious about that.
Because that's really more for me.
Okay.
But it's also for them because, and another thing I say is I don't have any quick fixes.
Right.
There are no. You come in here with like 40 years of trauma and stress, and if I could fix that quickly,
Come on, Jesus.
you owe me
right.
you owe me $10,000.
Yeah,
Right.
Like,
for real.
because you
Yeah,
pay
yeah,
it. If
yeah.
somebody could fix all that stuff that
100%.
quickly, like it's priceless.